Um, so for today's session, oh yeah, I forgot that I want to share this with you guys. Um, s- for today's session, which is the deployment and practicalities of PAM, where we will go like in depth about SwiftOne on how to set the we will go in depth about SwiftOne and how to set the device and about the programming, and then we will jump into the next session where we will learn about the metadata before we go into the breakout room and also we will do some fun activities with the games. But by the end of this session, you will be able to understand the basic function and components of SwiftOne, as well as becoming an expert in recording and organizing essential metadata. So for the first presenter is Patrick, who works with the Swift Recorder team at K. Lisa Yang Center, where he developed the software for SwiftOne and also hopefully in the future more acoustic monitoring technologies. So with his engineering and also telecommunication backgrounds, he is passionate about advancing the conservation through bioacoustic technology. So I think Patrick is ready to start his session. Go ahead, Patrick.
Okay, thank you, Mimi. I will now share my screen. See if this works. Okay, can you guys see the slide? Okay,
Yes.
so great. And as I talk through here, if you have questions, please feel free to ask. I can stop that way I can answer a question quickly if you didn't understand something. All right, so this morning we'll talk about Swift One Essentials. So this is just to go over this recorder that you'll be using for this current year of Beat program. And I'll just go over the basics. There are more thorough materials that you and videos you can go over later to get complete understanding of how it works. And I'm also available if someone have even deeper questions, I can always answer them. All right, so let's get into it now. If I can get it. Okay. So Swift One is one of the initial product that we created here at the Yang Center. Not very first one, but one of the more mass production units that we use for bioacoustics. And it's been around since 2016. And it's actually, we deploy over 10,000 units all over the world. Um, the unit itself actually ended production in 2024. We manufactured the last batch of them. And for most people in previous years, they use the older version of the Swift One, which has several iterations since then from, from your teams and everyone else telling me what the problems are. So you guys this year are using the latest and the last model of the Swift One, which is the revision H, which is the last one. This one has a bunch of improvement to, address some of the problems that you've seen in the past. So you are one of the first cohort to use brand new unit and also brand new firmware that will go with this unit. And I made some updates on this that we go over. So first, why pick Swift one at all? There's just so many options that you can use out there. You can go get different other acoustic recorders. Well, use Swift one. First of all, you can see that we only charge $349 per unit, and it has capability of going from 8 kilohertz to 96 kilohertz sampling rate, and also can go up to 823 hours at 24 kilohertz. I put a star there because you can't do 24 kilohertz on Swift one. This is just for comparison because for other competitors, they use that sampling rate. On Swift one, we go in between that. We have 16, 32, and then 48. So 24 is not a normal number that we use. So I'm picking some. There are a lot of options out there, but I'm only picking the one that's the closest, in capability and compatibility to SwiftOne if you were to go buy a unit similar to it. And some people are probably using Song Meter Mini too. This is quite similar to SwiftOne in size and capability. This unit, however, is $500 if you buy the alkaline double A version, or it's $600 about for the one that using lithium ion battery rechargeable. Both have the same recording frequency range, sampling range as the Swift one. Uh, the double A version only has 580 hours of recording time. With lithium one lets you go up more to 1330 hours. Um, Even though it seemed like quite a bit more, there are definitely some drawback in using lithium that we'll discuss in a bit. And then finally, the one that in the same class as Swift one is the Bar LT. And this one has been around for a long time. They charge $673. This is by Frontier Labs, an Australian company. The unit actually can go, actually same recording sampling range as we have. They have a bit more capability. They have the front panel screen that you can use to like program your unit right on the unit. It also has a way to compress your data out to FLAC, which is nice. Unfortunately, due to all this advanced capability, it also draws a lot of power. So the unit, despite having quite a bit of lithium ion battery, it doesn't last as long. I mean, not even half of what the Song Meter Mini can do. I'm not going to go into the Song Meter 4 and Song Meter 5 since those are technically not in the same class as Swift one. They are, multi-microphone input, and they have a much more capable enhancement like ultrasonic microphones and ability to attach GPS to it. So those are also quite a bit more expensive. They are 800 and up in pricing, so we're not going to talk about those. I also compare it to the even cheaper model of, bioacoustic device out there. So you have the Song Meter Micro, which is a new unit that Wildlife Acoustics just introduced. It's actually quite a nice unit. I had gotten a chance to play with one recently. Unfortunately, if you want one, you have to wait 6 to 8 weeks right now to get them due to shortage in memory. I happen to know this because we in the same boat making a new device. Memory shortage is affecting all devices right now in bioacoustic recorders or any devices. There's a massive memory shortage in the market right now, so it might be hard to get stuff. Swift one is not as affected. We don't use external memory, so Swift one is easily built without using external memory requirement. Next is, let's see. And also Audio Moth. This is a favorite for everybody that, didn't have a lot of budget to spend on a recorder. Audio Moth actually is interesting, has very high sampling rate up to 384 kilohertz. So you can actually record bats in theory with it or insects. And
I'm sorry, Patrick.
mhm.
Patrick.
You stop staring.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, let me try again. Okay, they come back. Sorry, somehow.
Yep. Good.
Okay, great. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so I just was talking about Audio Moth. That was the one that a lot of people use out there. It's really low cost. Um, but it's actually, when you get the whole thing with the enclosure and everything else, it come up to about the same price as the Micro 2. It's interesting unit because it boasts that it can do high sampling rate, but the architecture of it, the actual hardware, is not really capable of doing that because it's using onboard analog microphone. And also in ultrasonic, you don't want to have microphone attached to your recorder because you can't really capture ultrasonic sound correctly. We won't go into that topic. It's a bit more advanced. But if you're doing something with ultrasonic or things like that, you can discuss with me more. Okay, next is why the advantages of SwiftOne is, we pick it because it's, the best balance of price, quality, and the recording duration compared to all the other units you can get out there. I'm also like in favor of SwiftOne because I work with it a lot, so I really like using SwiftOne. It is waterproof and UV resistant, so it comes with that enclosure. You might not get that with Audio Moth if you just bought the board. Some people put them Ziploc bags and things like that, and that reduce reliability of the unit. Our microphone is replaceable, and that's a big selling point in many ways. If you buy a unit like a Micro or the Audio Moth, the microphone is attached to the board. So over time, they do degrade, and then you can't really do anything about that because you can't replace it. So on the SwiftOne, if you use it after the first year, eventually something wears out, you just put a new microphone on, and that way you can keep using the unit with a refreshed microphone. And finally, we still support it, even though we don't manufacture them anymore. I want to mention that we are working on open sourcing SwiftOne, and that's something we are in progress of doing. And actually, we'll find out soon if we get some funding to do this. And when that goes through, what will happen is you have full access to the hardware and software architecture of the SwiftOne design, which is a good thing for the community because then you can now actually build your own SwiftOne from, design and manufacture it locally rather than buying from us. So we kind of follow, the Audio Moth model of giving you the documents and ability to do it. We'll do initial launch to support the batch of the units that you can try out. We're gonna do some improvement on it too. So it's not just gonna be SwiftOne, but it will be an improved version of SwiftOne. I'll talk about it a little bit more later. You will have a chance to use some of the new capability of the enhanced Swift one. We're going to call it Swift OSH that you see in the future. This group will be one of the first to get to use the new configuration utility that was designed for Swift OSH. But because it's backward compatible to Swift one, you can actually use it now. Some disadvantages of Swift one. This is one thing that bugs me a lot is the lid screw. You have to screw and unscrew the lid, which is compared to other unit quite cumbersome. Some of this will be addressed with the future Swift OSH design. This is physical USB connectivity only. A lot of the newer units now give you wireless connection with Bluetooth. We're keeping it with USB even with the new design because adding Bluetooth adds complexity and also more things to go wrong, and cost also goes up. So with, for example, the Micro 2 does have a Bluetooth capability. It has some other fancy stuff. Unfortunately, I think they're doing it as a cost, like I think they're not making money on the unit. They're trying to get into the market with that low cost because the material to build their board is almost exact same price as the unit itself. So in a way, that's almost not sustainable in many ways. So it will be interesting to see if Micro 2 will what they'll do in the future. They might increase the cost significantly to maintain it. I know this because in our new unit, we also adding Bluetooth capability to the unit. It has quite a bit of cost and energy and material to require to maintain wireless connectivity. So on the Swift one, even though it's just USB only, it actually reduces point of failure and it's simpler. Not as convenient, obviously. So you can see that as disadvantage. Um, the enclosure is very bright. And I don't know, might not be a problem for some of your deployment that you guys are using, but in many places, bright white recorder sitting out in middle forest is not a good thing because a lot of in more sensitive area where you're doing monitoring, it stands out, and that could attract vandalism or theft. So that's something that concerning. In the future, we hope to address that with the new design. And finally, it's a bit heavier than, other units. We're using 3D cells, which has some weight to it. But, it also gives you more recording time. Um, Technically, you don't have to use D cells. And eventually we could switch to using alkaline double A's. So we're looking into that. But in the meantime, you're using D cell because it is what gives you the most power dense using alkaline. All right, let's move into working with SwiftOne itself. Some of you actually received them at this point. Not all of you have it, but we'll go over this so you can see how they look and at least get some understanding of how to work with them. So first, we're going to go into essential things you need to work with SwiftOne. Not too many things, really. You need an SD card to put your data from the recording. You need your batteries, alkaline batteries, to power your unit. You need the coin cell battery. This is often overlooked piece of the component you need. This will keep the time on the SwiftOne. And with this design, it also powers the SwiftOne, which is strangely doesn't make sense, but the clock on the SwiftOne requires a coin cell battery for it to function. So in order for it to even turn on, you need the coin cell to be in there. And finally, not finally, before the last one is data cable. You need this to program your unit and also do some configuration. And you need a screwdriver. With other units, you don't need screwdriver because you don't need to open the lid. So you need one for SwiftOne. So SD card, let's talk about this first. Um, you normally will use this Extreme Pro SanDisk is what we highly recommend it. I work with several SD cards and tested many of them. This happens to be one of the only few that actually consume the least amount of power and also much more rugged in different deployment condition. Why does it consume power? It's just a memory card. SD cards is actually strangely not just a storage device, it is a computer on its own. Um, if you take it apart, for people that have the capability or tools to do it, when you take the SD card apart, it is a microchip with flash memory inside of it. It is literally a mini computer that handling all your data as you send data to it. And that's why it consumes power and it also requires time for it to work. This comes to the next step point in here is speed class type. We usually pick minimum of class 10. This is what basically you picking out a computer, the different class type of your SD card. You can pick a very slow computer and they have a very slow write, sequential write, which is how much data can transfer back and forth. For a SwiftOne, you need at least 10 megabyte per second because the controller has to write data at that minimum rate. If it's any slower than that, you lose data when it's trying to write to the card, and then you get like choppy audio recording or not at all if it's not talking to it. Um, yeah, the important thing about SD card is capacity, how much you can store into the device itself. Typically, you see 256 gigabyte is quite standard. SwiftOne will let you take up to 2 terabytes, um, which is amazing. You can store a lot of data on there. Recently, due to the AI data center boom, all the memory is being consumed by AI data center. So right now, a 1 terabyte card is over $300. It used to be under $100 for 1 terabyte. So everything is now 4 times the cost of what it used to be. So you won't be easily buying a 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte card easily. I think last I checked, a 2 terabyte card is approaching $700. So the card itself costs more than the SwiftOne at this point, which is
Rumit,
surprising.
tapi nggak apa. Nanti aku mulai ikut diskusinya aja.
Oh, someone has a question or?
No, I think Panji just Is mistakenly turned on his mic. But go ahead, Patrick.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'll continue. Oops, sorry. Let me go back one. Oh, the last point is you can't just use the card as, actually, that's not true. Out of the package, most of the time you can just use the card because most modern card now comes formatted as exFAT. And exFAT is a um, drive operating system. Think of it that way. It's a drive format. The card needs to have some way of knowing how to organize files into itself like a library. So without formatting the card, think of it like a blank computer with no operating system. You can't talk to it and you can't send stuff to it. Doesn't understand what you're doing. So you can either set it up as an exFAT or FAT32. It's like think of it like a different operating system, a way to organize your card information. exFAT is a Microsoft proprietary format. It has a lot of features that's nice to have, like much larger storage capabilities. You can actually, a single file can be infinite if you want it to be. For FAT32 is 4 gigabyte maximum. For our use, it doesn't matter for exFAT or FAT32 because most audio file on the SwiftOne will be recording using wave audio, and wave by size limitation is 2 gigabytes. So you'll never hit the maximum size anyway, even with FAT32. So you can use either format. And with SwiftOne, we pay Microsoft for every SwiftOne recorder that you guys used for the exFAT usage. Um, in the future, when we go to open source, we probably have to revert to FAT32 because then you don't have to pay Microsoft to use your unit. In the meantime, exFAT is nice, it's natively formattable using Windows. It will give you exFAT right off the bat. Um, Otherwise, with FAT32, you need special program to format it to anything larger than 32 gigabytes. We'll talk about that more at some point down the road. But in the meantime, just remember that exFAT is what you want to use for SwiftOne in your deployment. Next is out battery. Like I said, we're using D-size alkaline. There's so many other options here, but D-size is what we design for current SwiftOne usage. It is huge, but it's also a lot of capacity. There are a couple types out there. You can get the common alkaline, which is something go to a supermarket or something. Those are typically called common alkaline. They both 1.5 volts, typically for diesel, 1.5 to 1.6 volt in voltage level. The industrial version was we recommend people using because you have quite a bit more um, charge. Basically, think of it as the how much energy you can pull from a unit. A common unit, you get about 8,000 milliamp hour in terms of power. That's about 12 watt hour of energy in one D cell. Versus, going to the industrial, you get quite a bit more, between 18 to 27, depending on which brand. Think of it this way. It looks like a bottle with water in it. A common alkaline is like a, 16-ounce bottle versus industrial is more like a jug for like your water cooler. One thing to remember too, the capacity and power that's stored in the unit is highly variable with your humidity and temperature condition. A lot of data sheet gives you it at 20 degrees C, which is room temperature, which is like the best condition you can have something in. But in the field, that's not true. Your place might be colder or hotter, and all of a sudden your the battery capacity is much, much different than what you expected. So a lot of time in engineering, what we do is I do 15%, 20% reduction in capacity. So if someone tells me, okay, this will give me 12 watt, then I reduce it to like 8 watt because it's always better to have more power than you think you do versus you plan too much and then it runs out. So something to keep in mind. And I talked about lithium earlier. In SwiftOne, lithium is okay to use if you have correct hardware to handle lithium. The issue with lithium is it's a very high energy storage. It has energy density far exceeding what alkaline battery has. That's why you can pack so much energy in such a small package. But due to that high capacity, it also quite explosive, literally explosive. So things like this, you can buy D cell that lithium D cell. We don't recommend using it. Some people do use it. In SwiftOne, we don't have a safety mechanism to handle them. You could use them, and some people successfully have used them in the past. So it extend their, recording time and also much greater temperature range you can be in to use it. However, it leads to fire if something is wrong, like you shorting the terminals or something happen. SwiftOne has no circuit to stop that from what I call thermal runaway, and the result is an explosion. This happened to a collaborator in California a year ago. They store a SwiftOne unit in the garage. It got really hot, and they also probably have water intrusion into unit, so the battery shorted together, and overnight it caught on fire and exploded. That's from one unit. Luckily, the fire didn't spread. They were able to put it out with fire extinguisher in time. So something to remember. Don't use lithium in SwiftOne if you can. Next is coin cell battery. We need this to turn on the SwiftOne at all. In the new design of SwiftOsh, you don't need the battery to turn SwiftOne on, the recorder on, but you still need it to keep the time. But the current revision H that you have, you need to make sure the coin cell is in your unit, or the unit won't turn on at all. In the troubleshooting guide we have, a lot of people will see like they got everything, alkaline batteries in there, you got everything plugged in, but there's no light, nothing's turning on. First thing to check is your coin cell battery in there. Is it actually at the proper voltage? Anything less than, um, if you use it for over a year, then you should replace the battery because it doesn't last. It sit on, even if you don't use it at all, SwiftOne will drain your battery whether you use it or not. So even if you're not turning it on, it's sitting on a shelf, the coin cell battery will actually be consumed. Only way to stop it is you stick a piece of paper behind the coin cell or plastic to keep it from making contact. Then you actually will not consume the battery. You also lose the time if you do that. Your clock will reset back to year 2000 because the coin cell keeps the battery and the clock working. But if you're going to store it anyway, you either take that out or you just stick a piece of paper behind the coin cell to keep it from consuming your power. You can get either BR1225 or CR1225. The number is, just for facts, it's actually talking about the size and thickness of the battery. The um, the one that you're not supposed to use is the CR1216. The difference is the last two digit. The 12 is actually the diameter of the coin itself, so it's 12 millimeter. And the 25 is representing the thickness, and I believe it's 2.5 millimeter instead of 1 point, sorry, 2 point, I might be 25 millimeter. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't get my number correct, but it's a physical size what the number meant. So the 1225 is actually a thicker coin cell than a 1216. That's which is about like half the thickness of that. But they both technically would work in your unit. If you're desperate and you only get 1216 in a supermarket, you can actually put it in the SwiftOne, but you need to make sure you push the contact on top way down so it make contact to the top of the battery. So even though I say incompatible, you could technically use it. But also remember that it's also half the capacity because it's half the thickness, it's less density. So you can only use it for 6 months. So if you're desperate, you can use it, but it only lasts half the amount of time you can use it for. And next item is the data cable. Um, the newest SwiftOne Ref H unit, we switched from USB micro cable to now USB-C. So your phone charger will actually now work. Most of phones now are USB-C to micro A. Um, sorry, not microwave, USB-A. So, but one thing you need to make sure that you know it has to be a data cable because a lot of cable can provide power, but not data. So a lot of the phone cable are both these days. They are like that. And USB-C is more likely that it's a data cable because it's a newer standard. Most cables are made with data and power together due to the USB-C standard. But I'm surprised that some companies ruin this standard by somehow providing just power only, even with USB-C. So you need to be careful when you use SwiftOne. You plug it in, you see the light turns on, and you get no connection. That likely something to check is your cable is not a data cable. So you need to find something that actually works for you. Um, USB-A is the bigger one on the left, and USB-C is the smaller one that you can see. In the older Swift one is micro USB, as I mentioned. Um, it's the same idea. You just have to get also a data cable from USB-A to micro USB. That's becoming less common now that USB-C is taking over the market. So it's much easier to get a USB-C to USB-A cable um, now. Okay, so right now, a lot of configuration utility that you use. I will go over it quickly here on the PC. We say PC with Windows can use configuration, but this is not true anymore as of now. Our configuration tool is now working on Android OS, so you can use your Android phone. We cannot use iPhone, unfortunately. Apple has a very stringent hardware restriction when you plug a USB into iPhone. So iPhone is a no-go. We look into that, but pretty much impossible to get cable to work with SwiftOne onto the iPhone. So you're pretty much left to use either Android device, a PC device, and now with the new firmware that I'm releasing soon, you'll be able to run it on a Mac laptop as well. So if you have a MacBook, you can also run the new SwiftOne configuration utility. Um, right now, I'll focus on the PC version because the interface is the same on all platform. Similar, not the same, but you just have to understand the concept, and you should be able to use it on any of the platform that you run it.
Hey,
Okay, so
Patrick.
yes, go ahead.
Hey, I'm so sorry to interrupt. The issue with being so passionate about and knowledgeable about Swift ones
Hmm.
means,
Oh, am I
yeah,
off time?
well, a little bit. We're trying to end. We need to end at 9:45.
Okay. All right.
So,
I will just run through the steps here quickly then, because this is also covered in user manuals and other items as well. Here, I'll just run it through quick so you guys can see all the different steps here, and I'll finish by 9:45, I promise.
okay,
Okay,
awesome.
so run through it quick. I won't go into details because you'll see this in user manual and things like that as well. But basically, first remove the lid to interface with it. Put the battery in, adjust the clamp to make sure you get the good clamping force. Put the SD card in, and then actually you should put coin cell in before other steps, like I mentioned before. And then once you have that, you can plug the USB in and then plug the USB-C on the other end and then launch your configuration tool. You can download the configuration tool from online. And with the new version, I will pass around later a link to using the web version of the configuration tool that you can use when you upgraded your SwiftOne configuration. Um, the tool itself has, multiple options, and you'll go through this on your own at some point when you look through. But just so you know, there's a summary, and you can actually adjust the time settings on the unit. Um, there's something new here that last year people didn't see is setting time zone. This is a new feature as of since last year. You can set your location and where your unit is. And this also set your time zone offset, which allows you to now track it in your file because you now have time zone offset. You can adjust the gain and rate differently. to run it. I want to talk about gain and rate quickly here, since we have some time, give some time here, because this is an important concept you need for doing most of the work you do. So what is gain? Gain is your signal amplification basically in the hardware. So if you have audio coming in and you want to make it louder, you feed it through the hardware and it amplify the voltage in this sense of the signal coming in to be larger. And the gain in SwiftOne you can set from nothing, which is 0 dB, all the way to 40 dB, which is a significant gain. Human hearing, 10 dB is what we hear as double the volume that you hear. That's about 10 dB. So 40 dB is actually quite loud. And that could also cause clipping if you go really high. So when you're doing gain, something you need to make sure is it gives you appropriate settings so you don't clip your audio or not too soft. Sampling rate's an important concept. What's sampling rate? This is we're taking analog signal and we want to see how to capture it. We're trying to put it onto a SD card. You can't put analog data into a digital format. So what we need to do is basically point out every so often how many points to see if we can capture it. I'll go quickly here. If you don't have enough points, your data that you capture doesn't look quite like what you have. We double the sample rate. It looks better. It looks almost like your signal, but not quite. What if you double it again, get even more sampling rate? Now you can see that your signal now look closer to what your signal. Now we go really high sampling rate, you can now get almost identical to your analog signal input, which is what you want to do. And in audio, you want to sample twice the frequency that you want to capture. This is the Nyquist rule, basically. So basically, you want to capture the right frequency, you got to run twice. If a bird is 10 kilohertz, you want to capture 20 kilohertz. All right, we'll just run through this, all the scheduling. There's a lot of nuances to this. You can learn this in the manual. And we have three different mode, arbitrary, continuous, and duty cycle. And at the end, once you're done, you can see your summary before you finish your unit. You can also check the voltage of your battery when you put it in to see if it's full or not. You don't want to run your unit if it's not running with at least more than 3 volts is what you want. And after that, unplug it, put your microphone in, and then, can I just skip? Okay. Larissa is showing a lot of microphone there. Put the lid back on. Don't turn the wrong way. And that's it. Oh, I think I forgot a step I skipped too quickly. You should turn the unit on before you close the lid so it start recording. All right. I'm right at 9:45. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Is there any question from anyone about this session or about SwiftOne? All good?
I have question.
Okay, go ahead, Jun.
Okay. So my question is, have you ever tried uh, uh have you ever considered trying rechargeable batteries before? Do you think they would have any effect, or could they work just fine?
Yeah, that's a great question, June. We do have SwiftOne with rechargeable batteries. We don't really offer it to public because it actually costs quite a bit more to add the rechargeable module to the unit. It requires adding another controller board to make the battery safe to use because SwiftOne doesn't handle charging and power handling correctly if you're using lithium. So we do have a unit that lets you do that, but it adds about $150 to the SwiftOne unit. But then you have now a lithium rechargeable pack. And actually works pretty well. One single pack lets you run up to 140 days, I believe. So that's quite significant if you want to have a long standby. We haven't really sent it out to a lot of people. It was mainly Congo people use it as one of the first cohort. So yeah, we do have that option. If that's something you guys interested in, we can talk more.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have
Any
following
other?
question,
Oh, okay. Go ahead,
but
Jimmy.
I let the participant ask there first if there are any. No. Okay, I'm gonna step in. Okay. Uh, I like to ask about the coin cells batteries. Uh, what happened if the battery is living more than 2 years? I think we have two recorder whose battery has never been replaced before. Yeah,
So as
whatever.
I mentioned, the battery is like being consumed even if you don't use it, if the unit's not on. So it's always
Mm.
drawing power. So it's been sitting there for 2 years. I highly recommend replacing it. Like you can check it, take the coin cell out and take a multimeter and just measure it. If it's less than 1.8 volt, you're not going to be able to use it. The unit might not even turn on. Like with the SwiftOne, if you have low power voltage on the coin cell battery, you can't even do anything. It won't turn on. Like you plug the USB cable in, you won't see any light coming on. So more than likely, your coin cell battery is not usable.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. That's all the question.
Okay.
Okay.
Before we go to the next part, want to add a few resources that we'll share to complement this SwiftOne session. We have a quick start guide, which is a document that goes through the steps of programming the Swift. We also have a video that where another engineer from the Yang Center puts a Swift together. And then lastly, we have a presentation that we can share. It's currently not on Canvas, but it introduces the two important concepts that Patrick covered and the settings that you need to program on your Swift. And those are gain and sample rate. And so Patrick shared a definition of both of those. And we have a video that has a few more minutes of like context and I guess considerations for thinking about your gain and sample rate and testing that. So that will be a good complement to, yeah, give you a fuller understanding as you get ready to deploy. And now I'll pass the mic, which is not clipping because our gain on our Zoom is perfectly good. Back to Mimi.
Thank you, Ben, for the reminder. So wait, just gonna share. So next, Indah will present about the practicalities of PAM. Indah is a PhD student at Gajah Mada University and Utrecht University. Her research focuses on using bioacoustic to assess the biodiversity in human-modified landscape in central Kalimantan, Indonesia. She is also one of the co-founder of Yayasan Suara Rimba, an NGO that focus on sound-based research and conservation in East Kalimantan. So please continue, Indah.
Terima kasih Mimi for the introduction. Hello, good evening and good morning everyone. Senang dapat bertemu semuanya secara online. I think today in this presentation, please allow me to do the presentation in Bahasa Indonesia ya. Because Patrick has already used English. Or maybe I'll do mix Indonesian and English. Oke, kalau begitu saya akan share. Malay juga mungkin sedikit.
Trilingual. Nice one.
Triangle. Everyone can see my screen.
Yep.
Hope yes. Ya. Ya, jadi pada pertemuan malam ini saya akan membicarakan lebih tentang practicality atau cara-cara praktis ya untuk menyiapkan project sebelum kita ke lapangan. Ada sedikit tentang covernya, membahas sedikit ini adalah bid year tahun pertama dan tahun kedua, kondisi di lapangan di mana mereka ya harus melakukan persiapan yang matang sebelum menghadapi situasi lapangan yang seperti ini. Practicalities ini em, sangat berguna di tahapan sebelum kita ke pengumpulan data. Jadi ada gambaran life cycle PAM itu sendiri mulai dari menyusun pertanyaan penelitian dan desain studi ke data koleksi, kemudian ke manajemen data, analisis hingga ke hasil yang diharapkan untuk keberlanjutan konservasi. Nah, practicality ini berada di antara satu dan kedua, di mana sebelum kita turun ke lapangan, kita harus menyiapkan beberapa hal penting selain alat-alat penelitian. Tujuan dari presentasi ini itu sendiri yaitu untuk menyoroti ya langkah-langkah yang berguna untuk meningkatkan keberhasilan pengumpulan data di lapangan, serta dapat membagikan sumber daya yang terkait pengumpulan dan perorganisasian data. Jadi selain data primer, ini merupakan data sekunder yang tidak kalah penting untuk ada di pengambilan data kalian. Namun memang sudah Esther share di WhatsApp ya untuk lebih dalamnya itu bisa dilihat di presentasi di Canvas 40 menit presentasi yang sudah bisa teman-teman akses harusnya. Ada yang belum pernah lihat atau belum sempat lihat, kasih thumbs up, thumbs down, kasih thumbs. Mungkin semuanya sudah pernah lihat ya. Jadi ini lebih mengulas saja apa saja yang diperlukan sebelum pengambilan data. Tahapan-tahapan awal adalah ketika kita masih berada di kota atau sebelum ke lapangan, alangkah lebih baiknya kita untuk melabeli semua alat-alat yang kita akan siapkan. Ya, mulai dari perekam, kemudian kartu SD, dan juga mungkin mikrofonnya juga dilabeli. Kemudian melakukan tes perlengkapan, equipment Anda, dan peralatan sebelum berangkat ke lapangan. Sehingga jika ada masalah, itu akan mudah diakses, akan mudah mendapatkan akses ke internet, atau ke driver, atau suku cadang, dan lain-lainnya. Label ini juga penting, misalnya kita bekerja di situs-situs yang mungkin yang tidak dilindungi atau kawasan yang tidak dilindungi. Sedikit sharing juga, saya pribadi ketika melakukan penelitian pelabelan juga kadang mencantumkan nomor HP dan menuliskan bahwa ini adalah kegiatan penelitian mahasiswa seperti itu untuk menghindari hal-hal yang tidak diinginkan sebenarnya. Perlu adanya tes, jadi sebelum kita pasang alatnya berminggu-minggu atau sesuai waktu yang ditentukan, memang perlu 24 jam tes dan dicatat hasilnya apakah perekamnya bekerja secara maksimal dengan baik atau mikrofonnya dapat merekam dengan baik. Dan juga memastikan hasil dari perekaman tersebut sesuai dengan yang diharapkan. Jadi setelah kita atur alat-alatnya, taruh 24 jam, kemudian lihat hasil dari rekam itu ketika kita pasang dalam siklus 24 jam, misalnya apakah benar-benar merekam sesuai dengan yang diharapkan.
Sorry, Indah. Ini berhenti
Ya.
share ya atau tidak
Enggak?
muncul?
Oh ya,
It looks good on me.
Masih
anyone
kelihatan
can
kok.
see?
Muncul,
Oh,
muncul.
oke. Muncul. Oke, sorry. Aku salah klik. Oke. I'm sorry.
Jangan-jangan klik yang lain ini, muncul yang lain. Jun? Minum air putih.
That was
Eh,
embarrassing.
Baik, selanjutnya itu tentang logistik lapangan. Emang ada hal-hal yang perlu disiapkan berupa logistik-logistiknya ya dari keperluan tali, mungkin ada perlengkapan tambahannya seperti atap, atau kalau misalnya bekerjanya seperti contoh ini salah satu contoh penelitian yang pernah saya lakukan, proyeknya Wendy. Itu ya membawa jangan lupa juga membawa apa namanya tarp itu atap flysheet itu flysheet jadi memudahkan ketika ada hujan rintik-rintik mungkin turun jadi itu perlu dipersiapkan secara matang mungkin juga ada yang area lokasi penelitiannya basah jadi mungkin bisa bawa alat alas atau seperti apa itu tambahan yang perlu kita catat di logistik. Nah, kalau khususnya di Kalimantan kami juga perlu membawa misalnya parang ya atau machete eh, dan mungkin perlengkapan tambahan seperti kunci lock tambahan gitu. Untuk pengaturan recorder atau perekamannya perlu dipertimbangkan secara strategis jika memungkinkan untuk melihat aksesibilitasnya, kemudian memperhatikan apa jalur air, keluar masuk air atau tinggi rendahnya air. Kemudian jika misalnya dipasang perekamnya ke pohon, harus memperhatikan diameter pohonnya. Karena untuk menghindari apa sound propagation atau perambatan suara yang itu tidak terhalang oleh lebarnya diameter pohon. Dan juga kita juga perlu mempertimbangkan lokasi atau pohon yang dipasang itu tidak merupakan pohon yang mati, karena juga berbahaya ya. Nanti besok ketika mau diambil sudah hilang hanyut misalnya karena pohonnya mati. Jadi eh ya dan yang paling penting juga memperhatikan elemen-elemen tambahan ketika Anda mendeploy itu yang bisa menghasilkan suara-suara yang mengganggu perekaman. Misalnya itu ada sisa-sisa tali lebihan yang dililitkan untuk memasang alat itu ketika biasanya lebih dan kena angin bisa jadi bunyi atau ada bekas akar-akar liana yang ditebang tapi tidak yang ditebang tanggung secara tanggung itu. Jadi bisa menyebabkan pelindung atau atapnya kendor, itu bisa menyebabkan suara-suara tambahan yang tidak dibutuhkan. Kemudian ada checklist. Checklist ini sangat recommended, sangat direkomendasikan dan sangat bermanfaat untuk mengingat hal-hal yang diperlukan. Terutama juga ketika kita bekerja bersama tim ya. Karena mungkin kita saling tunjuk-tunjukkan, oh kamu bawa itulah, kamu bawa itu, ternyata masing-masing jadi lupa. Ketika ada checklist, maka sudah diatur untuk tidak ada barang yang ketinggalan. Checklist ini ada 3 bentuk, 3 contoh, 3 bagian. Ada checklist equipment, checklist perlengkapan-perlengkapan yang harus dibawa. Kemudian ada checklist deployment, itu ketika kita memasang alat, itu sudah dipastikan mungkin baterai selnya sudah oke terpasang atau em, alur misalnya oh harus dimatikan dulu untuk untuk mengambil SD card hal-hal seperti itu perlu dimasukkan di dalam deployment checklist. Kemudian ada voice announcement checklist yang bermanfaat untuk memastikan data itu direkam sesuai dengan tanggal, sesuai dengan hari dan metadata. Kita akan ke metadata nanti lebih lengkap. Berikut ini contoh checklist checklist yang pernah dibuat oleh tim-tim di lapangan dan ini tentu bisa disesuaikan dengan kebutuhan kebutuhan project kalian, kebutuhan alat-alat lapangan yang ada sesuai dengan field site masing-masing untuk jumlah baterai atau jumlah SD card, dan yang paling penting dipisahkan. Ya, itu perlu ada ekstra juga. Membawa baterai itu perlu ada ekstra, membawa SD card perlu ada ekstra. Dan perlu misalnya ada 2 obeng atau screwdriver supaya ketika hilang satu bisa digantikan dengan satunya. Untuk voice announcement ini cukup penting karena untuk menghindari kesalahan ketika kita merekam, bisa jadi memungkinkan ada tanggal atau informasi yang tertuang di recorder itu tidak sesuai dengan kondisi pada saat kita merekam. Jadi mulai berantakan antara informasi yang tersedia di perekaman sama informasi saat kita memasang alat. Nah, fungsi voice announcement itulah ada di sini karena kita dapat mengecek kembali misalnya tanggal, waktu, lokasi, kemudian ID itu berdasarkan suara yang kita bacakan sebelum kita meninggalkan lapangan, sebelum kita pergi ke site selanjutnya misalnya. Jadi untuk voice announcement itu memang cukup penting untuk dilakukan. Ini salah satu contoh deployment sheet atau datasheet yang dipakai untuk ketika kita mendeploy, kita memasang alat. Yang perlu di sana ya dipastikan adalah lokasi, kemudian pengaturan alat, kemudian hal-hal yang penting yang perlu dimasukkan ke dalam metadata, dan juga perlu ya untuk backup. Jadi untuk lebih aman memang ketika kita menulis semua informasi ini kita foto, kita rekam, jadi kita ada backup ketika bahannya basah, ketika alatnya basah, kertasnya basah, jadi kita ada rekaman secara digital juga. Jadi memang penting untuk membackup semua data. Tadi saya bilang metadata. Apa sih metadata? Jadi metadata itu adalah data tentang data. Maksudnya menyediakan informasi deskriptif tentang data primer yang dibutuhkan. Jadi metadata ini merupakan data yang non-audio, berupa informasi tentang kapan, di mana, dan bagaimana misalnya file itu direkam. Jadi biasanya tanpa metadata ini rekaman bisa saja jadi tidak bisa digunakan. Jadi kita bisa berakibat kehilangan data jika kita tidak punya metadata. Seperti misalnya lokasi, kemudian nama unit atau ID unit itu bisa berubah juga seiring waktu. Maka dengan mempunyai kode khusus ini untuk mempermudah dan melacak perubahan data itu melalui metadata. Juga bisa misalnya mikrofon juga terkadang seiring waktu mengalami degradasi ya atau penurunan kualitas. Jadi mungkin bagus juga untuk memberikan tanda ke mikrofon itu untuk memastikan bahwa mikrofon yang digunakan tetap sesuai dengan standar atau high quality. Ya, jadi di metadata itu ada yang esensial dan yang direkomendasikan. Tapi biasanya ketika kita merekam, otomatis sudah tercantum tanggal dan waktu dan juga recorder ID. Dan yang lainnya itu bisa ditambahkan di informasi datasheet atau informasi tambahannya. Itu. Jadi ya metadata ini penting sekali ya untuk kita tuliskan, kita rekam juga selain data WAV yang dihasilkan oleh recorder. Harapannya adalah eh, di masa depan jika ada seseorang yang ingin mengolah data kita lagi, misalnya 50 tahun, 100 tahun kemudian, itu pertanyaannya adalah apakah mereka bisa menginterpretasi data yang sudah kita ambil. Nah, untuk menginterpretasikan itulah metadata di sini sangat penting. Ini sedikit contoh metadata yang saat ini saya lakukan. Memang ada dua tipe ya, ada yang manual melalui datasheet dan ada yang saat ini kalau saya menggunakan pakai perangkat handphone Android melalui aplikasi Survey 123 by ArcGIS itu biasanya ini gratis kalau dari akademia, jadi bisa akses dari akun kampus, di mana kita bisa setting sendiri, desain sendiri metadata apa yang akan kita butuhkan di di aplikasi. Jadi dia akan otomatis ke modelnya scroll down seperti itu, kita buka, bisa kita tambahkan informasi tentang deployment-nya. Kemudian kita bisa tambahkan informasi tentang apa saja yang dibutuhkan di dalam kayak acoustic recording. Kalau penelitian yang saya gunakan ada dua, misalnya ada dua perekam, jadi dia situ sudah tercantum dua perekam. Dan misalnya ada covariat informasi tambahan tentang habitat yang dibutuhkan juga bisa kita desain dan kita tambahkan di sini. Ini salah satu contoh saja yang biasa yang saat ini saya gunakan. Tapi memang yang contoh deployment sheet yang sebelumnya itu juga lebih masih sering digunakan oleh teman-teman di lapangan. Ketika kembali dari lapangan, data yang dari datasheet itu ditransfer ke em, apa namanya online sheet, metadata spreadsheet yang berisi informasi tadi, kemudian mungkin jumlah deployment-nya berapa kali sudah, kemudian site, ada unit, ada koordinat, itu bisa dimasukkan ke dalam sini. Lebih bagus lagi, praktis biasanya yang saat ini juga saya coba lakukan yaitu menambahkan informasi-informasi ini yang semaksimal mungkin di dalam file perekam. Jadi ada informasi mengenai jenis spesies atau spesies grup, kemudian ada lokasi, ada em, titik poin dan recorder serta tanggal dan waktu. Ya, sedikit ini ada tambahan apa advice itu saran dari lapangan itu yaitu harus dilakukan tes terlebih dahulu sebelum kita masuk, sebelum kita pasang, kemudian potong sisa tali supaya tidak membuat suara yang tidak diperlukan, kemudian memastikan pohonnya. Kemudian juga perlu mungkin tambahan tambahan atap untuk melindungi perekam itu dari air. Memang biasanya perekam itu waterproof. Cuman kondisi hutan hujan tropis itu kadang memang mengakibatkan air itu masih bisa em, masuk dan merembes atau bahkan menjadi lembab gitu di dalamnya. Nah, dengan menambahkan atap biasanya itu akan lebih minimal. Kemudian juga bisa menambahkan pelindung mikrofon karena di hutan kita biasanya itu semut semut dan serangga-serangga itu suka makan foam itu. Mungkin yang lain, teman-teman yang lain juga kalau ada saran yang lain bisa komentar di bawah ini. Tuliskan di komen chat ya, di kolom chat. If anyone has any more advice about practicalities, can write down on the comment section. Mungkin itu. Ini ada beberapa contoh yang teman-teman lakukan sudah di bit year 1, bit year 2, dan penelitian bioakustik. Ini situasi di lapangan yang sesungguhnya, yang mungkin secara ideal itu situasinya kering ketika terestrial ya. Namun memang ada hal-hal yang tidak bisa dihindari, misalnya seperti ini foto Ari ketika dia lakukan penelitian S2-nya, itu situasi airnya cukup tinggi. Jadi bagaimana perlengkapan mempersiapkan situasi yang seperti ini, atau harus menyelam ke dalam laut itu. Dan ini juga situasi ketika harus dilakukan pemanjatan. Bagaimana teamwork-nya itu sangat teamwork di pemasangan alat ini bahu membahu. Sedikit video dari bit year 2 mungkin cukup menarik untuk kita lihat juga.
No sound, Indah.
No sound? Oh,
That's okay. It was
sorry.
just inspirational music.
Ya, maaf. Sorry, I forgot to click that share sound. Ya, tapi it's someone playing acoustic. If you imagine, ya mungkin itu. Oh, ini juga bonusnya ada foto saya juga manjat-manjat memasang alat dan tim bit year 1 ya. Ini. Baik, itu saja. Jika ada pertanyaan, silahkan. Dan saya kembalikan ke Mimi. Terima kasih, Mimi.
Thank you, Indah, for a nice sharing and beautiful picture, and also the no sound, no video sound. So is there any question from any of you about the metadata, about how to fill in all this metadata? If you guys are worried that about where to get the metadata, no, you don't have to be worried, because we will provide you with all this metadata template later. So okay, for the next session, for the breakout room, we will do some exercise on writing your future deployment sheet. So just imagine that you are in the field and you need to fill in these deployment sheets or all the infos as a team. So please discuss together. So we will create a breakout rooms based on your teams. So you can just choose your breakout room based on your teams. Open all. Yeah. Okay. Even though I would love to do like the next session, which is the Kahoot game, but unfortunately we don't have time for that. Anyway, do you guys how do you guys feel about the exercise on filling the deployment sheet? Gimana kamu rasa? Okay? Like,
Double jointed
yeah,
agreements.
yeah, like
Hey,
this
are
is
any teams planning to deploy this month, but before June 12th? If you are, let me see like I don't know, some emoji that is
Ooh,
different.
cats.
Is anyone planning to deploy this month?
Javan? Okay. Probably
What about
not
the
yet.
next month?
I guess they will discuss it more with their mentor,
Yeah.
Ben. Yeah.
Okay,
So
sounds good.
anyway, I hope you have fun exercising on how you take note and fill in the deployment sheet and also like the metadata we will share with you guys. So you can also try to fill that one in. Yeah, so anyway, I think we are at the end of our session. Before our next session, which is gonna be in next month. So you have like 1 month that you can play around with your SwiftOne setting or do some preliminary recording to see how it goes, how the SwiftOne works, and how you want to like just play around with your SwiftOne and then like test whatever you need and try to take your like all this metadata the metadata data, all this deployment sheet, try to play around in this 1 month, or even meet your with your mentor to ask for an advice on how to carry out your sampling, which setting that you should use or whatever. But technically you are free from training team group for 1 month. So so we will not see each other for 1 month. So anyway, yeah, thank you. And before that, do you guys have any question from this session?
I have question.
Oh, yeah, June.
Who is A? I
A.
just yeah, there is A there. Who is that? Some mysterious.
Mystery A.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to do the photo session before next month? Okay. So open your camera, everyone.
This is like ritual for
Okay,
us.
this is ritual. Ritual for Sean
Oh, I
to
didn't
use
practice
to
my.
make a new face.
If a Zoom meeting is in screenshot, did it even happen?
I like Riri's. That's very classy. I'm nothing if not classy.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more,
Oh my
one
god, that's so extreme.
What did Sean
more.
do?
He's eating his cat.
Okay, 1, 2, wait, 1, 2, 3. And Yenny also has cat. So cute.
Nice. Sean loves these now.
That's
One other
terrifying.
thing, thing that occurred to me. So right now we have on social media lots of nice Zoom meeting community photos, but as everyone's going to be going out into the field, it will give us some really cool opportunities to share about what bioacoustics looks like when we're not in virtual trainings with our cute cats. And so, we could have a series, let's say, of each of the 7 teams. Like, what is it? What is deployment? What do their study sites look like? And so I think the networking team, Riri, Zia, Asman, other folks will be in touch. Obviously, Indah will be in touch about like ways to get some cool stories to document this bioacoustics journey. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I then see you guys next month.
Thank you, Mimi.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Patrick. Thank you,
everyone.
Indah.
Thank you,
Bye.
Patrick.
Bye.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you,
See you
everyone.
next month.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Indah.
everyone.
Yeah,
See you. Have a good
bye.
month.
Tiba-tiba Panji mengantuk ke?
Hah?
Panji mengantuk ke?
Belum tidur 5 hari.
Hah?
Oh, kita
Belum
gosip
tidur
aja,
8
Kak.
hari.
Tiba kita gosip. Kita tak boleh gosip sebab kita tengah recording.
Oh iya, betul. Kita nggak stop ini.
Okay lah. Bye-bye
Rambut
korang.
baru.
Thank
Bye
you.
Panji.
semua.
See you next month.
Congrats. Tahniah. Terima kasih. Bye-bye.
Bang Panji kita next month.
Ya sih, ya kita next month.
Esther. Ya, Kak. Gosip lah kita nanti. Nanti nggak di sini lah. Siap. Recording ini.
Di end aja sana deh, aku ngantuk sekali.
Aduh, ya
Terima
istirahat
kasih,
mas,
Bang
istirahat.
Panji. Sudah mau diganggu.
Nah, masih harus lembur. Ya, ada.
Dah, semangat.